Hello everyone, I'm Anthony, the Eclectic Chef. Welcome back to my kitchen. A few weeks ago we posted up a recipe, beef in beer with my mom's dumplings. It was pretty well received and it was a great dish too. After a few days it occurred to me, I can redo that basic plan with different meats, different sauces. So think about this being part 2 in an occasional series. This week we're doing pork cooked in cider, hard cider, with apples, and I'm going to see at the end, just for those who want to maybe try and enrich the dish a bit, I'm going to add some Calvados and cream. Now, the Calvados and cream will be strictly optional. It's just something I want to try for a little bit of added sophistication, but just the pork, apples and cider will work just fine. As we said before, we're going to cook the pork and our Mirepoix. Gentle seasonings and herbs. We don't want anything overpowering here, for 45 minutes. And we're going to take the meat out, pull out our herb leaves, and then we're going to use an immersion blender to really get a nice sauce. Then in go the apples, and in my case the Calvados. The cream we'll add right at the end, and we'll serve this over some mashed potatoes at the end, and I have a little sneaky trick on my mashed potatoes too. So with that, I'll add, this is now my next new camera, so sorry if I look a bit amateurish trying to get these new cameras to work. It's just because I'm trying to make better videos for you. So I hope you enjoy the recipe, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, so here's the pork shoulder for our pork in cider with apples, Calvados and cream. I was unable to find a boneless pork shoulder, so I had to buy bone in. You can see the bone to the right of the joint. So now it's time to get that bone out. And I've got my boning knife, my little Victorinox paring knife, utility knife. Cost all of $10, and it's probably one of the nicest and most used knives in my kitchen. Anything I can't do will get done with our Victorinox chef's knife. We'll get this done, keep the bone for throwing in the pot, get this cubed up to about 1.5 inch cubes, I think, and then we'll proceed with our cooking. And there we go, bone out. I made one cut with my boning knife, everything else was done with that little $10 or $11 Victorinox knife. I don't do Amazon affiliate links anymore, but I will put a link to that knife because for 10 or 11 bucks it's worth every penny. And if you buy one, you'll use it as often as I do, which is every day. We're going to keep the bone, just throw it in the pot and take it out, just see if it adds a little bit of flavour. Probably won't, but who knows. Now we're going to cube this joint up and to 1.5 to 2 inch squares, dredge it in flour, brown it up and get it into the pot with the rest of our ingredients, which we'll show you in a minute. So here's our pork, all cut up, nice enough fat to keep it juicy, and the bone's down there at about the 5 o'clock in the bottom right hand corner. We'll put this away till we got the rest of our ingredients ready, then it's on with the recipe. See you in a minute. Okay, so here's our mise en place for stage 1 of our pork with cider and apples. Now, we had a little bit of trouble finding the hard cider we needed. Eventually found it at Walmart. This wasn't, well, a couple of bucks a bottle. I don't know if it'll take 2 bottles, but we need to cover everything and we may need to top up a little bit. Over here we have our vegetables, 1 yellow onion, 2 stalks of celery, 1 decent sized carrot, some 5 sage leaves from my garden, 5 or 6 cloves of garlic, roughly squashed, and a good generous teaspoon of black pepper. Okay, the pork, which we talked about yesterday. I'm feeling lazy, so I wanted to dredge it in flour. I did that, and I used 1 gallon clean, used 1 gallon Ziploc bag just to save making a mess, and I can throw that away. 2 heaping dessert spoons full of flour. We're going to brown the pork off in the Instant Pot on Saute, and we're going to add our Mirepoix. The sage leaves I'll probably remove after 45 minutes, but then we'll blitz the rest with an immersion blender and take it from there. We'll be adding apple at the 45-minute mark, along with a couple other things to make this nice. Now, I know there are some of you who prefer not to eat pork, so obviously this recipe is not for you, and there are some people who choose not to take alcohol, either for cultural or religious reasons or because they have a weakness. I get it, I understand. But I will tell you that probably after an hour in the Instant Pot, any alcohol that was in this cider is gone. But if it really bothers you and you do eat pork, please feel free to use apple juice in place of the cider in this recipe. So here's our pork in the Instant Pot on Saute. Once this is browned, we'll give you another shot in a minute. We'll just dump the Mirepoix and seasonings on top, and let it cook for 40 to 45 minutes on high. So here's our Instant Pot, the Mirepoix in, herbs and spices, 1.5 bottles of cider, and we're going to cook this on high for 45 minutes, then we'll work into stage 2. Okay, so here's our mise en place part 2. Half a Honeycrisp and half a Granny Smith apple, cut up into decent sized chunks. 1/4 cup of Calvados. Calvados is an apple flavoured brandy from Normandy in France, where they grow a lot of apples, go figure. And we're going to add just this little splash at the end to see if we can't enhance the apple flavour in our pork in cider with apples. So here's our pork in cider with apples. We took the meat out, removed the sage leaves, immersion blended all the vegetables and the sauce. I won't need to put any more cider in. Replaced the pork, put the apple pieces we showed you and the Calvados in, and we'll give this another 15 minutes. Then it will be done. Okay, here we are, plated up. A little bit of flat leaf parsley for colour. The cream potatoes are rustic, meaning I did them skin on. Butter, the secret sauce, big dollop of creme fraiche, a little bit of milk, beaten up. I've had a little taste of this before, but we'll see how that pork tastes. The apples nice and mild, but the flavour comes through. Really looking forward to trying this. The potatoes are a great foil to this pork dish, particularly just that little bit of creme fraiche in the background. That rustic look with the skins. The pork, fork tender. None of the flavours are pushing their way to the front. The apples there, which after 1.5 bottles of cider, Calvados and 2 different types of apples, you would hope, but it's not overpowering. All the other seasonings and tastes are in the background. We did add cream. It adds some real body to the sauce. But other than that, the thickness of the sauce or the gravy is perfect. The immersion blending of the vegetables and the flour has thickened the sauce perfectly. A lovely taste, as I've said. Apple in the background, but you never forget it. Superbly tender pork. You could serve this to anyone. I really give this a thumbs up, and I think you should give it a try.